What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Kuhn. And Gabe, 1 second, I'll have to get on to Kenny because I'm on the wrong side. There we
go. Yeah,
there we go. Much better.
Oh, yeah.
Much better. Being on that side throws me all off now because I'm used to being on this side, but whatever. Enough of me being a prima donna. Gabe, how you doing, brother?
That is some prima donna stuff, though.
It is.
What are we doing here?
I got out in front of it, at least.
Come on. Kenny killed me with the ticker last week. I need him to get after you with the ticker this week.
Yeah, he probably.
Man, I'm hanging in there, brother. You know what? Listen, it's been official for a while, right? Christian is a bitch. Is that so? There's only 3 stars on that. So Bish, B-I-S-H.
It works too.
Not the TCH, but you guys have known this for a while, and It's officially announced. And I'm not going to make it about me too long. I want congrats from both of you guys on air, though, just so we look like friends. Taylor and I were pregnant. We're pregnant.
Yeah.
Baby on the way. Due date December 7th.
Gabe is going to be a father.
Yes.
Let's go.
This is the official throw out there on the Bluff. Mark down episode 83. This is when a big announcement came out, but yeah, man, we're excited. But we will have I
got to come on here for this.
Yeah, we're gonna have a gender reveal coming up this weekend. Y'all are both welcome. I'll give you details as the week goes along, but I'm not a big gender reveal person, but Taylor wanted to do it. I wanted to know the gender because we have the paperwork and the blood test done and everything. It's just in her friend's hands. I wanted to know it. She's like, no, since I'm not going to know it until the gender reveal, you can't know it either. And I'm like, well, that's like, it is at the end of the day, like it's my child, I should be able to have a say in if I want to know male or female.
It's fair. Kenny, you jumped on, so I'll let you go.
Nah, man, I'm just excited, man. Like we've known about this for a little bit. Well, obviously we're not gonna ruin your surprise, but man,
it's hard though. There was a couple of episodes. It's been a minute since Gabe's
about 4 months in now at this point. 4 months in. And yes, my swimmers do work. They do. They get to swimming.
Anyway,
and one beat out the rest. Just say if you're ever feeling bad about yourself, everyone knows this. If you ever feel bad about yourself, just realize you're the sperm that won.
Yeah,
you won the race.
You're
like one. I mean, well, how many get in there? I mean, that's one in the chances. It's like 50 million. It's ridiculous. One in a lot.
But there was a couple episodes like back to back after he told us where there was scenarios where it would have been easy to like throw something in there, and it was just like, you kind of got to stop yourself.
But it's like it's hard to know when to announce. It's hard to know when, because it's like, let's be honest, a lot of things can happen, especially early with a kid. Like women go through miscarriages all the time and stuff like that. So like you never want to throw it out there before you're ready. But we've been through it. We've been to a few checkups.
You want to get past the first trimester. Yes,
yeah, for sure.
That's kind of how usually it goes. But man, how did the folks react to it? How did Big
they've known for a while too.
Yeah.
But they're loving it. It'll be the first of the direct Kuhn clan.
Let's go.
It'll be the first grandchild for my mom and my dad. So they're super freaking excited. They've been waiting for a long time, and I was the third kid on that side. So it's they have been painstakingly waiting.
And here
how do you think they're going to be as grandparents? How's Big Tom going to be as grandparents?
I think awesome.
Yeah.
I think awesome. They raised 4 kids. I mean, hell, even when they were got into their 50s, they adopted my little sister, who's 14 right now, and they're in their 60s dealing with a 14-year-old high school girl in the state of California. Wow. Like they are great. They're great parents, and they're like they love this type of stuff. They love taking care of the little ones. So I think they'll be great. And as far as boy or girl, what do I want?
Yeah. What do you
normally get? And it's like, I just want a healthy baby. I think that's where I'm at. Taylor wants a boy.
Be honest though.
Taylor wants a boy. No, I'm being honest. Just healthy baby. Give me a healthy child. I swear it's that simple for me. For Taylor, she wants a boy.
Are you already scouting like NIL opportunities?
I hit up Silverfield to see if he would offer, if I have a boy, offer it out of the womb.
Right.
Or at least go preferred walk on, and then we can we'll see about the growth charts. If the growth chart is where I was through the first 5 years, of that boy's life, then we can definitely get it from preferred walk on to like at least blue shirt deal like me, and then
Right.
the full scholarship. But I'm gonna have to get some NIL money involved in this thing, man.
100%.
The truth of it, because this would be legacy. This would be a legacy recruitment. And we for legacy recruitments, we need some we need a sweetener.
We need a little bit of extra cash on top of it for the legacy stuff, man. That's pretty wild. Could you imagine?
This is something. Y'all were sitting there for a while on this. This has been a few nice couple months.
In a minute.
It's been tough.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats to you,
Appreciate
and Taylor,
it.
though, man. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate
All right, I'm out.
Yeah, get out of here, Kenny.
Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not out yet. You're not out yet, Kenny. You're still on. There we go. Now he's out. And by the way, I do want to throw this out there. We have my new the home studio. We have a new addition to the home studio. We like this.
Yeah, look at that. Did you get that today? Is that new?
We like this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I wish I had a ring like that, man.
I was about to say,
when I was losing all those bowl games, I wish I had a ring like that.
You didn't get an honorary ring for the 2023?
We did. I had 4 rings when I was done, but 3 of them were from losing bowls. The one that I hold closest is the 2014 one, because we shared the conference title and then won the Miami Beach Bowl. And that was the first ring that we had given out for Memphis football in a long mother effing time.
Did you say you have 3 from losing bowl games?
Yes.
You get rings for losing bowl games.
Yeah. If you get to a bowl, they usually give out a ring.
That is strange.
It's kind of strange, but
because that kind of sucks to get that.
Yeah.
In the moment, like now looking
like
back,
the one that really was strange, though, can I be honest, is like getting the Boca Raton Bowl in 2016, year one with Norvell. We were 8-5 and got our ass kicked in the Boca Raton Bowl and got a ring for it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I don't know if I really I'm not gonna remember this season as much as the other 3.
Yeah, no, but
this ring doesn't mean that much.
Like to me. Then you're like, this is stupid. Like, I do not want this. We just got our butts kicked. I don't want this ring. But like now, looking back, like how whatever 7-8 years later, it's probably okay. This is pretty good. Like I'm.
Well, but I'll forever remember that ring as Forrest Lamp, the left tackle for Western Kentucky, catching a tackle screen and running it in, and we lost like 59-35. That's what I remember that ring for. Unfortunately,
not bad.
Yeah. That was a good Western Kentucky team, but good Lord, man. I had to play left tackle for a couple of snaps. Got absolutely cooked when I was like 330 because Trayvon Tate got kicked out of the game for having too many personal fouls. I got on his ass about it. I'm like, dude, you are wrong for having me do this shit.
Yeah, that's a bad memory. I can't see that one. I can't see that one being a good one.
The other ones, even though we lost the Autos on Liberty Bowl, that was a cool memory.
Is that the Iowa State game?
Yeah, and then what else? The Birmingham Bowl year was kind of special, though, because we were 8-0 to start that season. So I remember that one. And then, of course, 2014 I already mentioned. Yeah. So, the other 3 years are memorable, and I think fondly when I look at those rings. But then that 2016 one, I'm like, who gives a shit about having this ring?
All right, Gabe, anything to add on the weekend before we move on? We don't have much Memphis news to talk about today. 10 minutes in, I'm going to preface it with that. But
I just watched UFC, and that was Alex Pereira. We'll talk about that later. That was freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, that was it. That was
awesome TV. Yeah, that was all I did. Taylor was out of town. I was kind of living the bachelor life for a second while she was out of town. So my entire fridge, of course, was just takeout. Didn't cook, didn't throw anything on the stove, no dishes this weekend. I don't know about you when the significant other goes out of town. It's like, let me go get a KFC bucket with side.
What was the number one takeout meal of the weekend?
Ooh, that's a great question. Damn. That is really tough. I mean, none of them overly good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's
shit. I don't know, man. That's tough. I got Moe's at one point. Chipotle is always at the top of the list. A Venice Kitchen probably at the top for me right now. That's what I did this weekend.
Okay,
it's all simple. It was like whatever's around me. Let me go get some takeout.
Yeah, this weekend, what did I do? Friday night, we went to Coastal. Me and Ruth, my sister, her husband, and 2 of our really good friends. We went out to Coastal. It was wonderful. Had a great time. We were probably the longest dinner of my life. We were there for 3 hours.
I fucking love Coastal, man.
Yeah.
I
We were there.
love Coastal.
Reservations were 7:45. I think we left at like 10.
You had to do that in advance, brother. Then, like that was
10:30,
you had to get the 7:45 out in advance. That's like a week usually out in advance to get that good a time.
I actually did it all the night before. Did
Really?
It on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay.
Did it on Thursday. Got lucky.
Usually on the weekend they get booked up.
Yeah, it was either like 5 or 7:45.
Now, what'd you order before we get into the like Ed Scott, new AD at Memphis, all this stuff? What'd you
Surf
order?
and turf.
Okay, surf and turf. I usually get that. It's the sea bass, the Chilean sea bass.
Sea bass.
And they have this badass like rice cake under it. It's like a risotto cake, and it's so good.
Yeah, well, my friend's wife got that. What did I get? Last time I got the lobster ravioli, and it was incredible.
Oh, Taylor's gotten that on multiple occasions.
But my brother-in-law talked me into doing the surf and turf, and if I could go back, I'd get the lobster ravioli.
You know, honestly, like for a really nice restaurant, they don't have the worst prices in the world. Can we be honest about that? Like, it's obviously an expensive restaurant.
Yeah, but it's
like even their starters, like the big ass thing of mussels that they bring out in the pot, it's like decent for a lot of food.
Yeah, I mean, we got the brie and blackened shrimp dip, and I think it was like $14, and that was probably the best thing we had. Like it was that good. Then you'll love this. I don't know if you'll love this or not. I don't know how you feel about this specific dessert, but their special dessert of the night was a strawberry key lime pie, and it was immaculate.
Oh, that sounds fire.
It was so good.
So they also have this. They have a Bananas Foster bubble waffle. You ever heard of that? Like the bubble waffles. It's just like exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And they have like caramel ice cream and Bananas Foster that they pour freshly over it. And if you don't know what Bananas Foster, it's bananas and brown sugar, and they light it on fire using rum. Oh, it's so good.
I don't know if
I sound so fat.
Yeah. I don't know if it could top that strawberry key lime pie though. That was special.
That's a special. That's something they don't do every day. I can rock with that. Then
Saturday, I'm trying to run through this quick, but I mean honestly, we got time to kill anyway. So Saturday, we went out to eat. We went to Public Bistro Saturday night, and it was not that good. You're muted, Gabe. Can't hear you, brother.
How about now?
Yep, I can get you now.
Oh, there we go. I'm off mute.
Yeah.
I'm off mute. Public Bistro. Where the hell is that even at?
It's on Cooper. It's like a block away from Young Avenue.
Okay.
Not great. Very mid.
Mid. Okay.
Super mid. Then played golf yesterday.
He's got the bug, Kenny.
I'm hooked.
Kenny, he's got the bug, brother.
I'm hooked.
Oh my gosh.
Me and my brother-in-law shot a 73. No thanks to me.
Public Bistro has decided not to sponsor. Yeah, no, I don't think they would.
I don't think they would either.
Not after that. There's not glowing reviews. Go to Public Bistro. They're super mid.
Did you even
They're
hear
in
me?
Midtown.
Did you hear me?
Midtown. What?
Me and my brother-in-law shot a 73.
Okay. He carried it.
Okay.
you had not much to do. Do you even use any of your shots?
Nothing further than 100 yards. No.
Okay.
100 in. We used.
Tell me y'all don't. Do y'all do mulligans?
No, we didn't do any.
Cool.
0. That was straight up 100% legit. No drops. No mulligans. No chunking the ball 10 feet away from where it landed. That was 100%.
Oh no, you chunked a few. You just didn't use them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that. But yeah, he's way good, way better than me.
I decided just not to golf this weekend because it was so ridiculously hot.
It was.
It's not going to let up, but I don't know.
Got to do what you got to do.
I guess so. All right, we want to get into it?
Yep, let's get into it. Open us up.
All right, Ed Scott. We know he's been hired. He was the former deputy athletic director at the University of Virginia. He was introduced as the new athletic director here at Memphis. We know the hire was made about a week ago. And I got to say just off top, and we'll discuss this first. What did you just think of the first impression? Not what he said, but how he said it, how he conducted himself. What did you think about the whole thing?
I loved it. Like I'm gonna preface it with this: like AD hires are so tricky because you don't really know until you know, if that makes sense. Like you don't know until you see what starts going on behind the scenes. They can have whatever credentials and whatever accolades possible, but you really don't know until you know. At this point, the only thing you can judge off of is what they say, how they say it, content of what they say, all that stuff. And then you can kind of just go into different variables as far as the aura that they bring, their confidence, their swag, like all those different things. And I thought Ed Scott was great. I mean, just from listening to him, I also saw that the football team posted a video with him talking to the guys in the weight room.
Fired me up, man.
Fired me up too. Like it just stuff like that is kind of all you can base it off of. So off of everything we've been able to see and hear from him, I think it's a good hire. On paper, it was a good hire going into it, but then seeing him do his press conference and hearing some of the stuff that he said, it's like, okay,
that's how I want to open it up, because I think like when you talk about athletic directors, it's like, yeah, we can talk about what he does after and what he's done in the past with fundraising and all this stuff, but especially in this day and age, I think Danny White does a good job of it at Tennessee.
Yeah.
You have to have a guy who can be a spokesperson for your entire athletic department, who
Absolutely.
can really put your athletic department up next to anybody, and you feel confident with what that guy's saying. He can control a room. He's charismatic.
Yes.
And like I said, Danny White does a good job at Tennessee. And look at that athletic department. They've grown so much, and he's made some good decisions along the way. But that's the first. First thing that jumped off the page about this guy. He's just charismatic as hell.
Yeah.
And I think on top of your fundraising duties and everything else, you have to be a guy who can be in the public eye and speak really well. And I think Laird Veach did a fine job here. I really do. He wouldn't have got hired at Mizzou if he didn't. But he was not that guy. I thought it was a breath of fresh air hearing Ed Scott at the podium speak highly on the University of Memphis, astutely on what he wants to bring, and also just bring that energy that Laird didn't bring for his entire tenure here at the University of Memphis. So I just thought that was nice. Now, as far as him as an AD, he is a master fundraiser. He secured the biggest single donation in HBCU history at Morgan State, which is something that is going to be massive going here in the near future, because $27 million has to be raised for the stadium renovations. It seems like, he's had multiple stops. He's been an AD before, like I said, at Morgan State, but he's held various different spots in the Power Four structure, including his last stop at Virginia in the ACC, which he created a great relationship with ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips. He has that connection, and he also talked about in his presser, hey, you want this upward trajectory to potentially get into the power structure of college athletics. And he thinks that the ACC is a possibility there, and he's created great connections.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to something you mentioned, talking about Laird Veach. And obviously we're not here to take anything away from what he did, the success that some of the athletic programs have had or had in his tenure. But you're right. Like, you want someone who, when you push them out on stage or when they're speaking in a press conference or whatever the case may be, like, they can kind of rally the troops a little bit, and they bring that charismatic energy. And that just wasn't who Laird was. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just, you can see a clear contrast between Ed Scott and the way that he speaks and kind of the aura that he has around him. And Laird just didn't necessarily have that. Now, it's not to say he wasn't great behind the scenes. Obviously, he made some things happen at the University of Memphis, but just from the standpoint of the public eye, like what you can see, he just wasn't a charismatic personality. And some people are, some people aren't. And Ed Scott clearly is. So I think that bodes well, like you're saying, for fundraising, then also just for fans and stuff, to see someone that, is putting out in the public eye that is a spokesperson for the athletic department that kind of baits you in a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great quality to have as an athletic director. It's obviously not one that is you have to have. You can be a good athletic director and not be the best, public speaker or be the one that's rallying the troops, but it doesn't hurt to have that quality as an athletic director. And I think Ed Scott clearly does have that quality.
Now to his to-do list, it's the $27 million for the stadium renovations. And then he talked about the ACC and the Big 12 as the obvious landing spots if the University of Memphis has any upward trajectory. And he mentioned that it seems like the Big 12 is pretty firm in what they have right now, and it doesn't look like they're going to be asking for anybody from the Group of Five to join their conference. But with his ties to the ACC, I think there was some strategy behind the relationships he has and bringing him here to the University of Memphis at this current moment. I would imagine you sort of feel similarly, because it feels like the ACC is the most obvious landing spot if they're going to get out. Now, there's even questions with that, like Clemson, Florida State. Who knows if that conference disintegrates right before our eyes in the next 5 years.
Right.
But if we're talking about a place for Memphis to land in the power structure, that would be it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we can debate how much that helps or doesn't help, but it doesn't hurt. Right? I don't think you can debate the fact that it actually does not hurt the University of Memphis to get someone who has ties to that conference, who has ties to the president, and kind of the upper tier of that conference, people that kind of pull the strings in that conference. So, yeah, I'm sure there was some strategy involved. I couldn't believe that it would be the biggest factor by any means, and obviously don't think you're saying that, but it does not hurt by any means to have someone that is directly correlated with the conference that you want to be a part of.
Know what I find to be a misnomer that a lot of Memphis fans like think about, oh, the AD's job. What's this next AD got to do?
Yeah.
I think most people agree $27 million. But then other people will be like, oh, get us into a new conference. Get us into a power conference. In my opinion, that's less about the guy and more about how he runs the athletic department. It's more about the controllables than actually having a guy who can get you to that point.
Right.
It just, if you are good on the basketball court, you make the college football playoff this year, you get the Olympic sports going, then everything could, and you get the stadium renovations done, keep your NIL up, everything can handle itself. I don't know if Ed Scott or any athletic director has the full say-so if things are going badly, just to be like, oh, I can pull the strings to get us into this conference. I think it's about controlling the controllables.
Yep.
And, that's why I think going into next year, especially for basketball and football, this is a very pivotal year, man. Isn't it? Like the expectations that are placed on football, potentially getting to the college football playoff, and then basketball, what they could potentially be in winning a regular season title in the AAC, winning a conference tournament again or whatever with the team they have. They're clearly the best team in conference. Like this, I think there's a lot more hinging on this year than a lot of people are giving credit for. But I do hate when people say it's directly Ed Scott's job to get them into a power conference, because he can't do that by himself. He needs the whole athletic department to pull in the right direction and for the teams to be good.
Right. That's what I was going to say. He can't control the products that are put on the field or on the court or whatever.
I mean, he can with hires and such, like,
but the actual, that's not
you can't put that directly on his shoulders.
No, not at all. And speaking of other sports, let's bring up basketball here for a minute. We don't, like I said, not much going on this time of year. Beginning of July, just not a lot happening. So the biggest thing right now on the basketball side of things would be that Arthur Kaluma, Kansas State transfer, committed to Texas. And this was an addition that we felt like if Memphis was able to land him, he would raise their ceiling tremendously. But didn't necessarily, they weren't dead in the water without him or anything. So a couple of things I want you to hit on, Gabe. Where does Memphis go from here? If anywhere, do they try to pivot to another player that can make the type of impact that Arthur Kaluma can make? And how do you feel about just the overall team now that he is going to Texas and not to Memphis?
I want to do those in reverse order. So I'm going to do those in reverse order. So first thing, how do I feel about this team without Arthur Kaluma and no one at this moment replacing the David Jones production? I feel fine. Like I don't feel bad at all about where this team's at. You still have 22 point per game scorer in PJ Haggerty going into a sophomore year. He can definitely produce. You have a guy in Tyrese Hunter with a lot of experience who can give you good 3-point production, be a secondary ball handler, go make things happen on the offensive end. Colby Rogers is a knockdown 3-point shooter. You have the bigs that you need, I think, for the most part. Dane Danger, Musa Cisse, Tyreek Smith, Nick Jourdain. I just think you have a fine team. Now, what this does do for me is I think it limits what they can do in a NCAA tournament situation. I still think they're by far the best team in this conference. Like, I think they are the best team in this conference from top to bottom. So I think they should be able to run through the AAC, although last year tells us to push pause on that. But I think it's better built defensively, that type of thing. But what it does do for me is just, without that offensive production, where you have a guy that just could put the ball on the floor or shoot from outside and just go get you a bucket whenever you need it in crunch time, I think that limits your ceiling in a NCAA tournament setting. And I know some people say you're putting the cart before the horse. Let's see them get into the tournament going into next year, although I feel pretty confident about it. I just think it limits their ceiling. It's the best way I can put it. Now, as far as pivoting from here, you would know better than me, brother. I don't think there's that many people out there on the open market,
right,
that they're going to be tied to. And to be honest with you, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to lose my mind over it. I'm not overly sad about it. I think they have enough to be a very competitive NCAA tournament team this year. And I think that's just about all people want to see after last year and the way it ended.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in lockstep with that because I think you're fine. And we've kind of had this sentiment since long before he committed to Texas, really ever since Memphis got involved with them, is that you're fine. You should be, on paper, you should be a really solid team. Like there's not these tremendous gaping holes in this team. The defense is set up much better than it was last year. Maybe you can argue about the overall upside of the offense, but if your defense plays the way that it's capable of, I think you kind of balance that out a little bit better than you could last year. You couldn't really make up that difference for the deficiencies on the defensive end of the floor. But to me, the biggest thing, and you said it, it limits your national ceiling, like your overall, how high you can be, being mentioned among some of the better teams in the country. I think that is your I guess your margin for error is much thinner now without another potential star player. So it's just, who you're relying on, and
right.
Those players night in and night out, they have to come and bring their A game. They have to play up to par. And if they don't, then you don't really have a secondary or tertiary option to come in and make up for that lack of scoring or lack of playmaking or whatever that may be. So I think the national upside, the national ceiling is limited now, but I still think Memphis is in a great spot. I think they're fine. I think they've got a really solid core to this team that, like we've been talking about, they've been together for quite some time now already leading up into the season, which I think helps them out so much and gives them a leg up on the last couple of Memphis teams.
Which is sort of why, like, you take Arthur Kaluma if you can get him, and you pay him the NIL money if you can get him, but not having him, there were questions about his fit as far as like as a locker room guy. When he left Creighton, he wanted more touches, ended up at Kansas State, got more touches, but that team took a fall and didn't make the tournament last year. And there's also, I think if you bring him in, you would have just another capable scorer in there. And we've seen over the years that pecking order,
too many
when you start adding those capable guys, it just gets confusing.
Yeah.
And I think with this team right now, it reminds me of 2 years ago, way more than last year.
100%.
You have one guy who, without question, PJ Haggerty, can go give you 20.
Right.
And then you have another guy in Tyrese Hunter who could be second in line to go get points. Then you have a nice 3-point specialist who was sort of the Keontae. You think about it, Colby Rogers, Keontae Kennedy, how that all played out.
Yeah.
I just think you have a pretty clear pecking order. If you added Arthur Kaluma, it would have muddied it up. Not in a bad way necessarily, but it would have muddied that up to a certain extent. And we've seen having a very verified, understandable pecking order helps Penny Hardaway coach teams. I don't think you can argue against our sample size either.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. All right. Well, that really wraps it up for the Memphis news. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side with a loaded hot three, because there might not be much going on in Memphis sports right now as far as the University of Memphis, but in other Memphis sports, clearly talking about the Grizzlies here, and then just national sports as well. We got a lot going on with NBA free agency and also UFC 303. So we're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll be back with the hot three.
I think people knew, at least towards the end of the year, Penny mentioned his mom being sick and battling throat cancer, I think it was, and different things. But like he really opened up about it. I don't know that anybody knew about his mom having a stroke mid-season, leaves a shoot around, goes home to find his mom on the floor, and then had to basically leave her to still go coach a game.
It's crazy.
Like I can't, it puts things into perspective. It's just like some things are more important than basketball. And so, yeah, to your point of him being distracted or focused on taking care of or the health of his mother, like totally understandable. So no wonder a part of him probably feels personally attacked. I think if that had been out, and I'm not saying he should have put that out, like totally,
no,
it's family,
absolutely not.
Privacy, whatever. I'm just saying, had it been out and people known that, I think he would have been given a lot more slack for what had occurred during the season.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
I don't know that there's been a more polarizing prospect in recent memory than Edey. I mean, everyone just had wild opinions on him. You find guys, people whose opinion I really respect in the draft community, who had Zach Edey number one. You'll also find people whose opinion I really respect who had Zach Edey in the 20s or 30s. So he was all over the place. I settled with him as a top 10 guy in this class. And, you know, I've told a couple people I kind of want to edit my draft board now and put him like top 3 because I just think the Grizzlies are a perfect fit for him. Like this makes so much sense. And I think the more you think about it and the more you look at what he does well and what he brings, it's perfect, man. It really is a perfect fit.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
What's up, boy?
Hey.
Yeah.
What up, dude?
It's not as exciting when we've already seen you, you know?
I know. It really doesn't feel as special, does it?
It takes some of the luster off of it.
It doesn't.
You know what's
Hold
going to
on.
make it special, though? Talking about Zach Edey.
Hold on one second. I got to figure out why. That's why it wasn't looking straight. I got it fixed. Hey, I got a question for you guys.
Yes,
What's
of
up?
course.
Before we get started on the hot 3. When is too old to do deadlifts? You guys have any thoughts on this? Am I too
Kenny
old?
Stubblefield's age.
Oh,
That's my answer.
so
I don't know. I don't think you're too old to do deadlifts. I think deadlifts might just be something you got to work into.
Yeah.
yeah, I need to. My back is hurting today, boys.
Yeah, because you weren't doing them right.
You know,
That man
so-
loaded it up. Hey, he loaded it up to
No.
like 415.
no. See, like,
405.
I
Lift it all
lift.
back.
I lift relatively light because I'm not really trying to get like Gabe and be all buff and stuff. Like I'm trying to like just be healthy, right? And so I actually didn't lift a whole lot. My back was already kind of sore today, and I was doing deadlifts, and I think it started to like really hurt, and then I was like, let me just do one more set. That's a mistake. I made a mistake today.
Were you lifting with the legs,
How much
Kenny?
did you have on the bar?
I started at 205, and then I went to, it was like one of those Christmas tree looking, you know what I'm talking about? The trees where you do
where it's like big, smaller.
Yeah, like you're supposed to lift heavier as you go lower in reps, and then you come back down the tree and go back to like a lot of reps. So I was like going up weight, down weight, up weight, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I'm 29 years old, ripe age of 29 years old.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do another deadlift in my life. I don't.
Yeah, man, I think I might be done. Like,
Yeah.
cause I'm just,
And also, you can do like deadlifts with like, barbells just to make it like easier. Doing the straight bar deadlift sometimes, like people's bodies are built weird. I have like shorter legs and a longer torso, so it ends up putting more stress on my back because of that fact.
well,
Yeah,
I've tried.
I said in high school.
Yeah.
Like, so the ways our workouts were like Monday and Friday were arms, Tuesday and Thursdays were legs, and Wednesdays alternated between deadlifts and power cleans. I did nothing on Wednesday, even in high school, because I realized, like, for me, deadlifts, power cleans, that stuff hurts me more than helps me. I don't know if it's a form thing. I don't know if it's like Gabe saying it's like a body thing, but literally, I told my coaches on Wednesdays, like when we did cleans and stuff, like I'd do curls and stuff like that. I was not doing cleans and I was not doing deadlifts.
Even squats for me by the end of my college career started to really mess me up.
And
I peaked at like 515, and then once I did that, it was like from there, it's like that's the highest I ever got because my lower back started barking. And it's like, I don't want to risk injury by continuing to squat that heavy. It just doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah. I think I maxed like 405 my junior year squat. I know that's a little bit harder to believe now, but I was a bigger fella back then. But I maxed 405 my junior year, and I pretty much never squatted after that because then I tore my ankle up. And every time I'd squat, it'd kill my ankle. And I was like, you know what? Weighted squats, never for me.
And you know, like, especially like doing squats, putting that bar on your back too. I don't know. There's just something about it. Like, it depends on the day, how you're feeling when you're squatting.
Yeah.
Some days you'll be 100 pounds below what you think you normally could do for reps. Yeah. Just because your back hurts and your legs.
That was me today. Like, I was like, I came into the gym going, I'm going to lift lighter today because I just don't feel it. But I'm also like, I want to lift, like I want to do legs, right? Like I don't want to just do upper body stuff. I want to do legs, but man, I just was
Let's just get you on a steroid cycle and we'll get you where you need to go.
I know Christian sells steroids, so like we could, so we could.
I got the plug.
Thank you, man. You are the plug. What are you talking about?
On a steroid cycle. Yeah, the only thing, you can't drink. We got to do this by the book. We can't have anything. Don't need liver spots popping up on your back because you're
steroids make your dick little. Anybody?
Yes.
Anybody?
Yeah,
Cat Williams.
Heck
yeah, dude, the best.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be of God.
All right, start.
All right, let's get into it.
Start it off.
Let's get to it. It's the greatest, dude. When he was in his prime, he was the funniest person in the world. All right, let's get to it. Topic number 1. Biggest news in Memphis sports this last week was the Grizzlies picking Zach Edey at the number 9 pick. Boys, did you guys have a chance to pay attention to the lottery as it was happening? What did you think? Did you kind of expect? I mean, just give me your thoughts leading up to the Grizzlies being on the clock for that number 9 pick. What were your expectations?
I'll start it off, and I'll say, really, with what was on the board, I honestly like it more than pretty much anything else they could have done, because do we know exactly what they're going to get? No. Do we know exactly how Zach Edey's going to translate? No. But as far as production, accolades, all that stuff, we knew we weren't going to find a better player. Now, I'm not saying we as in the Grizzlies. I'm saying like just as we in the media knew there was not going to be a better overall accolades player than Zach Edey. And this was the only clear need that the Grizzlies had. And Donovan Clingan was long gone by this point. Obviously, you'd rather have Donovan Clingan than Zach Edey.
Really? Obviously?
I think so.
I would say so. Okay. I would say so.
I don't want to switch my thought process just because the Grizzlies ended up drafting
Zach
Edey.
Okay.
I see a lot going on right now. I think there's some groupthink going on with Zach Edey, but it's not a bad thing because everybody sort of talked themselves into it.
Right.
But I mean,
would you have taken anybody else there? Is there anybody else there that you
Dalton Connect would be the only other one that I look at. But
I don't think he was
then
there.
I saw how Tennessee fans reacted, and I'm like,
you're right.
Dalton was there till 15.
17.
Hey, I don't want to get into Tennessee fan stuff just yet. We're gonna do that in a second, right? Like we're gonna do that in a second.
But I thought leading up to pick number 9, I like 6 and 7 when those hit the board, and Clingan was still there. I thought that they still were going to try to trade up for him.
Yeah.
But that's not how it worked out. They probably couldn't find a willing partner at 6 or 7. So they said, screw it. Let's take the next best big on the board.
Yep.
Who's the 7'4", 300-pound behemoth. And I want people to understand, like, I like Zach Edey, and I think he does a lot of things well that the Grizzlies need. When we talk about 2 non-negotiables that you know he'll be good at, and 2 things that the Grizzlies need immediately out of their big, he can rebound his ass off and he can set screens better than anybody in the country. He did that last year. Now, I don't want people to lose sight of who he was as a prospect. One of the most polarizing prospects we've seen in a long time. Although he was accomplished, even after his third season when he won Naismith Player of the Year, he was getting at best late second round sort of grades, you know? And it's a testament to him and his work ethic that he continued to raise his stock and he became sort of a lottery pick in this draft. Maybe that has to do with the draft as a whole and where it was at talent-wise. Maybe that has to do with a little politicking and like Jonathan Gavoni threw him in there and he was hearing things from around the league. But ultimately, I'm fine with the pick. I think it makes sense. I think he's going to be slid in there as a starting center next to Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he lets Jaren go roam. I think he could be a very valuable rim protector. I think he can finish around the rim better than a lot of players we've seen at the center position for the Grizzlies, certainly better than Steven Adams. I think he can grow into being a capable passer. But the two things that just make me okay with this pick, he will get 12 rebounds per game if he plays the requisite amount of minutes. Right. And I'm telling you, he will be probably one of the best pick and roll men or screen setting big men in the league from day one. I mean, he will peel off every defender from Ja Morant that you could possibly imagine. Yeah. And then
and not even that.
Even if the pick and roll goes bad and they have to switch, right, and they pick up, could you imagine like a 6'5" defender at most on Zach Edey? Right. You dump it in there and immediately tell him go to his baby hook. Put that in there. Put
2 point. It's an automatic 2 points.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, the shortcomings come in on the defensive end and his foot speed. But I think, you know, when we watch Steven Adams was in drop coverage all the time. He wasn't good at that.
Right.
I think there's some people, which I don't get this. There's two things I don't get. Oh, well, he's not going to be able to keep up with Ja Morant on the fast break. Neither can Donovan Clingan. Yeah, neither can Steven Adams. Neither can Jonas. No one can keep up with Ja. Desmond Bane can't even keep up with friggin' Ja Morant.
Like, what are we talking about?
Then the other thing that really kind of throws me off, because it just shows that you are completely ignorant on the subject. Oh, well, he needs to get into shape. Well, it's like, okay, yeah, he's 7'4", 300 pounds. If you go look back at his time at Purdue, he ran a 5:51 mile. He also played 32 of 40 possible minutes per game last year at Purdue. He is one of the most in shape 7'4" men in the history of the game.
Yeah.
If you just want, it's not like he was low usage.
No.
He had to run up and down the floor, and he had to catch the ball, and he had to go to work in the post constantly.
Yeah.
And he rebounded his ass off, and he set screens, and he rolled. It's not like he was playing 32 minutes a game, but he was the last one up the floor, and he didn't do anything on the offensive end. He was the most high-usage guy in the country, damn near, and still played 32 minutes a game easily.
Yeah. He has shortcomings, right?
Sure,
like we know he has shortcomings, but he does a lot of things really well that the Grizzlies need someone to do really well. And I think you mentioned a lot of those things pretty perfectly, Gabe. I'll ask y'all something real quick though, because I think the answer is pretty obvious, but just for debate sense, Kelly Ware went, I think, 2 picks after Zach Edey.
Oh, he went 6. He went 15.
Oh, he's 15. Would you take Zach Edey over Kelly Ware?
In the Grizzlies circumstance, yes.
Yeah. If you're the Grizzlies.
Yes, because Edey rebounds better and he screens better by probably, tenfold. Yeah. Kelly Ware's not a good screener. And if it would defeat the purpose of going and getting a big in the first round if you couldn't find a capable screener for Ja and Dez. It would defeat the purpose of getting a big.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, and I think Zach Edey's who he needs to be, and it fits the timeline a little bit better.
Yeah. I've seen some people bring that up, and I was kind of like, if you're just looking at it in terms of prospects, maybe, but as far as team fit, I think it makes it much easier.
The big argument with Zach is you overdrafted him, having him as a top 10 pick. That's the biggest argument you can look into.
If you had taken him at 14, you'd have been fine with it. That's what everybody said.
But then how the hell are you? You have to find someone who's willing to do that with you.
Like, come on.
What are you getting out of that in this draft?
Nothing. You're getting nothing.
What's the difference between 9 and 17 when Dalton Connect got taken? Not that freaking much.
I've said this from the very beginning of this whole draft process, is the Grizzlies need to pay attention to, they're not drafting for someone in this draft to be a massive linchpin in the success of their team. They are looking to fill the needs around Ja, Jaren, and Desmond.
Absolutely.
And and you take a look at what those guys need to succeed. The last time that Jaren Jackson Jr. had a big that played drop coverage with him, he was Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
You look at Ja Morant being one of the most dynamic pick and roll point guards in the entire game. You get a guy who can set screens on the sun in Zach Edey. You get a guy and you also get a guy who, think about it in this sense. The guys that were drafted in that lottery, how many of those guys will absolutely be on opposing teams' game plans? Like what you have to do something to them in order to stop them in their offense. You have to stop Zach Edey. You have to tag somebody off the corner, man.
Somebody has to be on the floor to deal with that.
He is rolling towards the basket. If they set a screen and that guard can't get over that screen or under that screen, which most likely they can't because he's 7'4" and freaking 300 pounds, you're going to have to switch. Well, then he rolls the basket. You got to have somebody to tag him, right? Well, then you leave a guy wide open in the corner with Luke, with Desmond, with whoever it may be. You're talking about a guy you have to actively game plan against. How many guys can we say that in the first round of this draft?
You can small ball him off the floor, but guess what? The Timberwolves did that to Steven Adams 2 years ago in the freaking playoffs when the Grizzlies won that series in 6 games.
And I've seen people say this about the Dallas Mavericks this year. Well, they did that exact thing to Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is not the offensive player that Zach Edey is. That's what. So when I say like what Rudy Gobert does really, really well is play defense, right? But if he is getting schemed defensively off the floor, he's offering you nothing on the offensive side of the floor. Zach is different. Zach can be that. He can be something on the offensive side of the floor.
Sure. Yes, he's a better finisher. He's one of the
100%.
Like on volume, probably the best finisher in damn near NCAA history. Besides going back to like the 80s and 70s,
it's crazy.
when guys were just nuts and playing center at the highest of levels, like the Kareem, Lou Alcindors of the the world. Right. But he was really up there in that type of category. He's 2-time Naismith National Player of the Year. The one thing I'll say to that though, Kenny, like the Rudy Gobert thing you did, which I'm not like going to completely nullify it. That's not what I'm doing. But his offensive ability is going to be it's going to go from here to about here.
Because you don't need it to be, right?
He's not going to play like he did at Purdue. He's not going to get many touches. Yeah. I just think when he does get those touches, you feel confident that he can put 100%. It in the damn rim. That's what you're saying.
He's an option, right?
That's the other, somewhat drawback about him. But I because of who he is as a worker and how hard he has worked to get where he's at, I don't worry about it as much. But morphing his game to fit into the NBA is going to be a theoretical challenge.
So
slow pace, dump it into the blender, go work Zach, have 20 shots a game versus what he's going to do in the NBA where he'll get like 6 shots, 5 shots a game on 18 to 25 minutes. It's going to be faster paced. They'll get up and down the floor. That part of it, I just want to see how he reacts to it. But I don't think he'll react in a bad way because I think that he is as Grizzlies of a guy as I can imagine. Very highly productive, 22-year-old,
right?
Who you just feel like will do whatever he can to get himself to the point where he can fit perfectly with this Grizzlies team. Because he did it at Purdue year after year. He started as a 8.4 rebound guy, ended as a 25.12 rebound guy.
High usage.
And you just see him add something to his bag every offseason. And I don't think that's going to stop just because he gets to the NBA.
Two last little topics I want to discuss on Zach. Christian and I have covered high school sports and college and Memphis Tiger stuff for a long time. Trey Draper, a good friend of ours who used to coach at
IMG,
was an assistant coach at IMG. We saw Zach when he was at IMG, and is it not crazy, Christian? Do you remember Zach in high school when he was playing? How big he was, but how. Like, I honestly was like, who is this kid? And he's never going to amount. Like, this guy's just
he was gangly, probably.
Gangly, like little bitty dude. He has played ball. I actually got a chance to talk to Sean McAloon, the head coach at IMG, for the Anthony Sane show. And we were talking about that. He said, man, he goes, Zach is the best receipt keeper I've ever seen in my entire life. He says, I guarantee you, if you were to ask him right now about IMG and me, he would tell you that he holds a massive chip on his shoulder because of the way that I coached him. And he said, and I've used that to like get better as a coach, to kind of like figure out guys, like figure out how to play these guys better. And he said, but look at the growth and the maturity in his body over the last 6 years. He's played ball for 6 years, and you see his body now compared to what it was just literally 4 years ago. It is unbelievable, the transformation.
Yeah, 100%. Like he was not someone that was on anybody's radar in high school. Right. And the only reason he was on a radar was because he was massive. Like that was the only thing that he had going for him, was his size. No one in the whole entire world would have ever believed that he would be a lottery pick or would be a 2-time player of the year at the collegiate level. None of those, there was no obvious signs or even remotely obvious signs that was going to happen. And kind of like Gabe's point too, I think that's just a testament to his work ethic and the time, that no telling how many hours he's put in to develop his game and to be what he is now. Like, no, he's not the most polished prospect in the world. Yes, he has his shortcomings, but the fact that he made it to this point, I think it tells you all you need to know about who he is behind closed doors. Like when nobody else is in the gym, I would imagine he worked his butt off to get to the point where he's at now.
So it seems like a lot of Grizzlies fans are pretty excited. After Zach came and did his press conference, his introductory press conference, reports came out that he was not going to play for Team Canada in the USA or in the Olympics. He's going to come and play summer camp or summer league. Is that a good thing? Like, is that a good thing for Zach and for the Grizzlies?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be a bad thing. There's going to be a transition period for him, and he's got to hit the ground running to do that. I was actually happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so topic number 2, let's go broader NBA topic. NBA free agency started up. It has been pretty hot and heavy. I mean, there's been a lot of movement happening. Let me ask you in this way. Are there any teams in the West that have made moves that scare you for the Grizzlies or concern you for like what they're going to be doing? Who the Grizzlies has to kind of flesh itself out in terms of like who are going to be the teams to beat next year based on the moves they've made so far?
I don't think there's really been much in the West that makes me say anything like that. With Dallas and getting Clay, it just kind of depends on what Clay looks like. And I mean, we know he's not going to be the player he was 5 or 6 years ago. After an ACL and an Achilles, there's only so much of your former self that you can be. But I do think landing in Dallas, I think, is pretty much the perfect scenario for him at this point in his career, because playing with Luka, playing with Kyrie, he doesn't have
a lot of spot up shooting opportunities.
Exactly. That's all it is. I mean, if you collapse down on either one of those guys, they can kick it out to Clay, and he can do, like, at this point in his career, what he's being paid to do, which is shoot the ball. And with Luka and Kyrie, I think it's about as good of a situation as he could have landed in anywhere in the NBA. And like, these were rumors that we were hearing by the back still during the playoffs that the Mavs or the Magic were going to be like the 2 spots for Klay Thompson, and I think Dallas is the perfect landing spot for him. I don't know how much he raises their ceiling, but I do think he's a really solid addition that I think helps them out.
Don't y'all think he's kind of cooked though?
Yeah, I mean, on the defensive end, sure. That's the one thing. The Mavs are the team. They just made the NBA Finals. You can't ignore that, and I thought they got better. You basically traded out Derrick Jones Jr. for Najee Marshall, which was a really good signing by them, in my opinion.
Yeah, Najee's good.
Then you have Quentin Grimes. You ended up adding. And you have Clay in place of basically Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, right.
Think about this starting lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Clay, PJ Washington, Derek Lively.
Not bad.
That's a damn good starting 5. Then off the bench, Jaden Hardy. I've always held this. I believe this to my core. Jaden Hardy's 21 years old. I truly think this guy, if he stays with the Mavs long term, can be like a 6 man of the year caliber player. As a on ball guy, a shooter off the bench, a flamethrower off the bench. Then you have Jaden Hardy, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, and Daniel Gafford on the bench. I mean, that's a good team. And then the other team, and real quick before we get back to you here, Christian, I'm curious the Pelicans, what they're going to do. If you saw the trade, they fleeced the Hawks, in my opinion. They fleeced the Hawks. Gave up 2 second-round picks, who was it? Larry Nance Jr. and Dyson Daniels. And they got DeJounte Murray. So you have DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and then, pick your center from there. The reason I'm kind of worried about what they may do, they've been talking about getting rid of Brandon Ingram for a while.
Yep.
And if they trade Brandon Ingram, they're going to get some assets or a good player or multiple picks in return to go find another deal they could make. Like, they have some flexibility now that they were able to get DeJounte Murray for that price. I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think he does pair very well with Zion, obviously much better than Trae Young. That was an extremely failed experiment. Yeah. So I'm interested to see what it looks like. My only holdup with the Pelicans is going to be the same holdup we have with the Pelicans every year. Zion. Like, is Zion able to stay on the court? If he plays 60 plus games and is healthy for the playoffs, they have the ability to compete for a championship. It's just that is a massive question mark still at this point in his career.
For me, if they hold on to Brandon Ingram, all bets are off too. Like, if they decided to hold on to that guy, I don't believe in them, because that would be embarrassing. Like,
well, I think it's becoming increasingly clear, and we've talked to Rail Myers about this. She covers the Pelicans for the railmyers.com website. And it's just becoming increasingly clear Zion and Brandon can't play together.
Operate on the same. It never was going to work.
They operate on the same plane, right? Like on the
same place
court.
On the floor.
Yeah,
they both need the ball in their hands to be effective. They're not big assist guys,
right?
It's like, what are we doing?
But I think Brandon's an awesome asset, though, right? Like, you could use him.
Get over the top piece for somebody.
Who
is that, and what do they give in return? Now, the Eastern Conference, though, there's a couple.
Well,
of teams.
Before we move on to the Eastern Conference, y'all missed the team I think that has made the best moves, and that's Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, you're right.
They just signed Isaiah Hartenstein. But honestly, though, like, I know Grizzlies fans were all like, "We got to get Isaiah Hartenstein." That man is making $29 million.
They could have never afforded him.
No.
Never.
What he signed? 3 year.
You don't even forget about this. They traded Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso.
Exactly. So it's like they added Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein to their lineup. He got 3 year, $87 million, Christian. I mean, it's just.
And they re-signed Isaiah. They ought to Isaiah Joe. They ought to be favorite to be the number one seed in the West.
They're gonna be tough.
Yeah.
They're gonna be tough, man. They added pieces that they need. Like, Chet Holmgren is very clearly not able to bang with the bigs in the West, and now they got Isaiah Hartenstein, who can absolutely do that. And oh man, yeah,
Isaiah Hartenstein thing is so crazy though, man, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if you just look at, I know he was great with the Knicks last year, and he earned this contract, but he is a lifetime 6.5 rebound guy, and he's in his mid-20s, and he just now gets this 3 year, $87 million payday.
Yep.
Like, holy shit. Good for him.
Yep.
Good for him. Man, the Grizzlies never could have afforded that.
No, but the Thunder, you are right. I forgot about the Thunder.
Yeah. What about the Eastern Conference? What do you
Paul
think?
George and 76ers. Let's rock. That's great. Kelly Oubre Jr. And then also Eric Gordon. And they signed Andre Drummond, which could have been a Grizzlies guy. They're doing a good job. They just got to stay healthy. And then the other team I want to talk about is the Knicks. Mikal Bridges, they go and trade for him. They load up their roster. They find Tibbs exactly what he needs. A bunch of two-way guys, dogs out there, but he's got to keep them healthy during the regular season. I think the 76ers and the Knicks at full strength could compete with the Celtics, but I'm scared about their health because Knicks were so hurt last year in the playoffs. And Joel Embiid and Paul George have been notable scratches from teams in the past come playoffs.
Can their knees hold up?
Yeah. Basically the entire Villanova roster that won the national championship in 2016 is on that Knicks.
And do you not remember the narrative about that 2016 team? Nobody on this team. They won the national championship, but nobody's a pro. Nobody's this. They're just a bunch of role players that gelled well together. And now look at them, man. Yeah. Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, it's so wild.
Jalen Brunson, though, can we really revel in that? Jalen Brunson becoming the superstar he is.
Oh my God, he's
so wild.
Good.
Yeah, it is absolutely wild.
Like, being a 40-point guy, he'd score 40 points a game in the playoffs there for a while. It's like, how the of all the guys on that Nova team, it's like he's the guy who's not going to fit in the NBA.
Right.
Yeah. Somehow he's become the main
best one
piece in the NBA, the best player, because he was 6'1", not that athletic, All these other guys at least had like length and athleticism, could play defense. Jalen Brunson fit none of those boxes.
Nope.
Yet he's the best of the bunch.
He's the best of them all. All right, there's one more free agent signing that I want to discuss, and I want to go at it in a different direction, or in kind of two different directions. Denver has been the hallmark of roster construction over the last few years, right? You draft from within, you develop your players, and you build around that with ancillary pieces. One of those pieces that they brought in was Bruce Brown, right? Yeah. Bruce left and went elsewhere. He went to Indiana. I think he might have gone. He went somewhere else.
To the Raptors,
and now he's at the Raptors, right? Bruce
Jeff
left.
Green was another one, by the way.
Jeff Green was another one. Contavious Caldwell-Pope was another one, and now Contavious has signed a free agent deal with the Orlando Magic this year. Does this? How much? I know this is a free agent move that most people are kind of like, well, it's not a big deal, but in y'all's opinion, does Contavious Caldwell-Pope leaving to go to play for Orlando, does it impact Denver? How does it impact Denver, and how does it impact Orlando?
You want me to tell? I'll run point here. I think that it affects Denver. They don't have their starting two anymore. Like, that's huge. But can I be honest? I am going to give a take that not a lot of people are giving.
Here.
His usefulness is way more needed for the Nuggets than it is. Like, it's way more amplified for the Nuggets than it is for the Magic. And the reason I say that is because now he's a 3-year, $66 million man.
Okay.
You're tying up a lot of the cap with him, $22 million a year. You got Paolo. You're going to have to pay Franz. You have all these things you're going to have to tie yourself up with. And to be honest with you, yeah, they need shooting. They need maybe a little bit of perimeter defense. But, like, do we trust Paolo and Jalen Suggs and those guys to, one, give up shots, and two, be able to get him as involved as Jokic and Jamal Murray did?
Yeah.
That's where I just sort of sit back. I'm like, Jokic in particular is the best teammate you could have. He's going to get you involved. He's going to find you wide open. Did they have the same guys with the Magic to be able to get him involved offensively to the point that the Nuggets did the last few years in this sort of championship caliber run they've been on? I don't see it. I think they overpaid for a luxury piece that's not going to look the same once he gets in a Magic uniform.
I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I think and if I could just encapsulate what you're saying is his departure impacts Denver more than it impacts Orlando, in that because of Denver's star players, his role was so unique.
He was needed. He was
Denver.
very needed because now they don't really have a whole bunch of shooting.
Even though I think Paolo Banchero is a freaking superstar.
I agree with that. I just don't.
Yeah, but he's just saying as far as getting KCP involved.
Right. Getting KCP involved, I just don't think the Magic are going to have that same wherewithal that Nikola Jokic himself took on to get those other guys involved.
No.
Yep.
And now the Nuggets are going to be down to Christian Brown, who's not much of a shooter.
Right.
Not much of a shooter. Yep, that's true. All right, last topic, UFC 303 recap. Before we get to that, I have a tweet that I want to show you, and I want you to tell me what your thoughts are. Michael Chandler tweeted out, I have been offered Islam Makhachev in October, but if Notorious MMA Little Pinky Toe is ready by September, let's do the Sphere. Biggest sporting event in history of sports. Boys, would you rather see Michael Chandler go up against Islam Makhachev in October, or would you rather see him and Conor McGregor fight in September in the Sphere?
That's so easy.
McGregor.
He'd get murdered by Makhachev.
Islam would beat him within 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I can't even.
Problem.
I don't even know if I believe. I don't even know if I that might just be a marketing point for Michael Chandler. I don't see any world in which they would offer him Islam Makhachev other than if they were just trying to cater to the fact that he's had to deal with this Conor fiasco, because he obviously doesn't deserve a title shot.
Right.
Yeah, I
You're saying that because
Conor, it would be a better fight.
Yeah.
Because Islam is scheduled to fight Ilia Topuria, right?
Wrong division.
Oh, are you sure? I thought they were.
You're thinking of Arman Sarukian.
No, they're looking for Islam's next.
Oh, are they? I thought, man,
Yeah.
okay, wrong division. My bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I think so. Obviously, Conor would be a easier fight and a probably more lucrative fight for him. He'd get murdered in the first round against Islam. All right, UFC 303 obviously was a card that kind of went through a lot of changes. Obviously, we talked about Brian Ortega last week. That fight fell through 3 hours in advance, boys.
What happened? Did we ever get? He had an injury.
He had
an injury.
103-degree temperature.
Okay.
Shout out to Dan Ige though for stepping up literally as last minute as you possibly could.
Crazy.
He had some the irrational confidence though to text the matchmaker and be like, "Oh, don't deny me this opportunity. I think I can win." I'm like, "You've been in camp for 3 weeks."
Yeah.
But the only place to really go with this, because it ended up not being a great card. Obviously, a lot of stuff happened around this card. A ton of canceled fights. But Alex Pereira, Jiri Prochazka, second go around. Alex Pereira really does have a chance to do something it's never even been seemingly possible for someone to do after beating Jiri Prochazka for the second time. He could be a 3-belt champion. He didn't clean out middleweight. He beat Sean Strickland. He beat Izzy. Then Izzy beat him and he left. So he didn't really clean out middleweight, but for all intents and purposes, he's cleaned out the contenders at light heavyweight, beating Jiri Prochazka twice, beating Jan Blachowicz, and also, who am I missing? Jamal Hill. Beat Jamal Hill as well. There's no intriguing fight for him at light heavyweight. Gabe, I think you're muted
filthy,
again.
Though.
Oh, there you go. You're in. You're in.
He's fucking filthy, dude.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. But he
gets
is
your timing down. If you're not just like even Izzy can't mess with him right now. If you're not just like the most elite level striker in the UFC, he will time you up. And he's one of the most devastating counter punchers I've seen in combat sports, man. Yeah. Like it's not just his timing. It's about the weight on his punches when he's giving you a counter.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
Your lights are out. You have no chance. At the end of that first round, what he did to poor Jiri. Jiri, luckily it was a buzzer beater, so he was able to get into the second round. But Jiri knew he was screwed as soon as he got hit with that. And then starting the second round, Alex waited, and he knew Jiri was about to throw something stupid, just some hands. And as soon as Jiri even flinched, here comes the head kick.
Switch kick out of the head.
Gone. Just gone.
Yeah. No, it was incredible performance, especially after you've beaten someone. They have an opportunity to study you more. They have time to figure their game out, and Jiri still didn't have a chance. And now the question becomes, I think the biggest takeaway from this entire event is, does Alex Pereira go up to heavyweight now? Which is insane that, not that long ago he was fighting at 185 pounds, and now we could really see him fighting at heavyweight. And I think we all agree, as long as he's not fighting a world-class wrestler,
yes, that's
competing very heavily at heavyweight, it's insane. We've never seen anybody that can do that.
Well, because going up to heavyweight, going up classes in general, you're like, is he gonna have power? The same power when he gets there? And it's like, I have no fucking question. No. This guy will have power. 0%. Like I talked to y'all. I think I texted y'all this when it happened. I'm like, this guy's bones are made of steel or something?
Yeah, man.
Because it's like these punches, they're short and maybe they're compact and maybe they're just coming way harder than I think. Like they are, swinging way harder than I think. But it's just like, it doesn't look like they should knock people's lights out like they are. It doesn't look like it should be. I mean, his power is ridiculous, man. I can't get over it.
It's just a quick little check left hook, and anytime it lands on someone's chin, they go down.
Also he is pinpoint. He is the pinpoint fighter in the UFC right now. Yeah,
accuracy is insane. Power is insane. He's incredible, and to do it in the amount of time that he's done it is absurd. The fact that he's a 2-division champion, I think I saw today he's beaten 5 former world champions. Like that, it doesn't happen like that.
By the way, thank you. By the way, Myra Bueno Silva's cut, that was gnarly.
Yeah, that was.
You saw that?
Yes, I did.
She said she wanted to fight. I'm like, if she hits you in that one more time, your skull's going to be showing.
Yeah.
Splitting all the way across, man.
Like her
Bad.
skull, if she got hit in that again, her skull would be like, you would see the bone.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that.
Lord, how she got cut open that deep by Macy Chason was crazy. Just that elbow, right? Just one. Split it. I'm like, God.
Yeah.
Hey.
She needs to put some lotion on her forehead, man. Got some dry skin, bro.
Put some Vaseline on there so it slides off a little bit.
Something. All right, boys. We got anything else? Are we ready to wrap this one up?
I think we're good.
Good. Kenny, you good?
I'm good. It's good
All
to have
right.
you on. You're out next week, right?
I'm out next week. Yep, I'll be at the beach Saturday to Saturday, so I'm out next week. You boys are gonna have to take over. Good luck to you.
That works.
Appreciate you guys for watching. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, comment. If you're listening wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, any other podcast platforms, you can do the same there. Also, head over to bluffcitymedia.co. Check out all the articles, podcasts, and videos covering all things Memphis sports and beyond. Once again, appreciate you. Look at that, boys. Can't talk. Been on here for an hour and 15, so I can't talk anymore. But we appreciate you guys for joining us. And Gabe and Kenny, we'll see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.